And a Des Moines Public Schools safety officer were also at the scene. Iowa State Patrol says they were pulling evidence out of a car that you just saw in the video there. We saw them pull a firearm out and place it into an evidence bag. Alyssa Gomez asked immigration officials if they were looking for someone specific. They declined to answer. KCCI's Alyssa Gomez saw the DMPS public safety officers take that white vehicle and drive it from the scene.
So it looks like Democrats have found their new Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and that's not a joke because these people are actually protesting. But today, we got to bring you perhaps the single craziest immigration story that you will ever hear. This is like the final boss of illegal immigration. I am personally struggling to still comprehend the fact that it's even real. But apparently today, in the state of Iowa, ICE made an arrest of a school superintendent in the Des Moines area, which is already crazy enough. Keep in mind, we're not talking about a teacher or even a top principal or administrator at a school. We're talking about the superintendent, someone who's in charge of the entire school district, basically a local public official, a local politician, I guess you could say. And it turns out that this person wasn't illegal, which really begs the question, how did they ever have this job to begin with? But ladies and gentlemen, the story gets a lot crazier. Because not only is this someone with a questionable immigration status, we're talking about a guy who apparently has a past criminal record, and when ICE tried to detain him tonight, he fled the scene. They got in a dramatic car chase where he tossed out a gun, tried to hide the evidence of the fact that this guy is not just an illegal, he's basically a violent criminal gangbanger illegal, again, working as the head of public schools. Yes, this is real. And what's even more real than that is the fact that, again, Democrats are actually going out and protesting, which honestly is to be expected. I mean, we understand basically the top constituents who their party really fights for, and that includes, obviously, international narco-terrorists, arms traffickers, MS-13, gangbangers. He frankly fits the true description of the diversity and, true love that the Democrats bring to America and, obviously who supports the party. So I guess this really should not be all that surprising. But yeah, this is the new martyr, ladies and gentlemen, of the Democrat Party. And apparently, even a local Democrat state lawmaker, and this, by the way, is so typical, without any knowledge or evidence, said, "How dare ICE detain this person, blah, 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 that's so bad," and then had to delete the statement, right? So it's very interesting because these people are currently crying for due process. They're saying, look, we don't really support the MS-13. We're not saying Kilmar was a good guy. We're just saying that we need to respect the rule of law, and the Trump administration is not doing that with immigration. But then notice, immediately, whenever an illegal gets detained, it doesn't matter what the evidence is, what you even, try to find out that they did. They immediately just say, oh no, this is bad, this is horrible, Trump is so terrible. The party of due process again. No, much like many other issues, the true nature of the Democrats in America is they do not want to deport any illegal alien. That includes the violent criminals, that includes the international terrorists, quite literally. There's a reason, by the way, they allowed them into this country, literally caught them at the border and released them under Biden. This is the platform of the radical Democrat Party that should not be ignored. And it's the same issue as Antifa, right? It's the same thing. Oh, we condemn violence, but then let's allow people to commit violence. In the same situation, we're sensible on immigration, but let's also not deport anyone, and let's defend every single narco-terrorist and other types of people who are in our country. So that said, guys, we'll tell you about this insane story. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And as you can see, yes, it is real. ICE arrests a Des Moines school superintendent, Ian Andre Roberts, saying he's a criminal illegal alien with a prior weapons charge. Imagine that, right? Do you not just do a basic criminal background check if you're going to work in schools? And furthermore, you're going to be the superintendent of a school, right? It's just insane. Anyways, on Friday, ICE arrested the superintendent of the Des Moines, Iowa public school system. Major city, by the way. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest city in Iowa. So just keep in mind, we're not talking about some small random place, right? Public school system, Dr. Ian Andre Roberts, and accused him of being a criminal illegal alien with a prior weapons charge. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because you might try to make the case, oh, they're lying. this guy actually is a really nice law-abiding citizen, and they're just defaming him because they're racist. They want to deport people. Okay. Well, that story rapidly falls apart when you find out the circumstances under which this amazing public servant and, Iowa father and teacher was arrested under. So this suspect was arrested in possession of a loaded weapon in a vehicle provided by the Des Moines public schools. So not only does he have a gun on him, which, okay, Second Amendment, whatever, in a school district vehicle. Okay. And the sentence goes on here, after fleeing federal law enforcement. So they found this guy in a Des Moines public school district owned vehicle. He had a gun inside the vehicle. Federal law enforcement find him. He flees. And again, I kid you not, the Democrats are going out here protesting for this guy, claiming, oh, he was such an amazing, upstanding citizen, right? It's so cruel to be deporting people who have no criminal record and they haven't done anything wrong and they're just part of the communities. Oh, but the guy does have a criminal record. It's cruel to deport people in general. They should have the right. They should have the right to flee from federal law enforcement and carry guns inside of, public school vehicles. You ever noticed, by the way, that these people always cry for gun control, except for the cases in which, they're the ones having the guns and, carrying them under illegal circumstances. And then they turn around and say, Republicans, the law-abiding ones, you have to give up the guns. Look at how much this is happening, right? But as I said in a prior video, actually, that's what gun control really is about. It's about disarming the normal law-abiding citizens. Not even necessarily directly immediately so that the government can become tyrannical. It's just simply so that the left-wing activists, whether that's Antifa or just the street criminals, can basically have their will on the streets in America, right? Anarcho-tyranny, essentially. Anyways, that said, so Sam Olson, Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations in ICE's St. Paul, Minnesota office, said in a press release how this illegal alien was hired without work authorization. So he didn't even have work authorization, right? Some refugees, asylum seekers, they get that. He didn't even have it. Did he use a fake social security number? You didn't e-verify working in a public school as the superintendent? Okay, hired without work authorization. He had a final order of removal. In other words, that means a judge had already previously ordered him to be deported. And a prior weapons charge, a prior criminal history is beyond comprehension and should alarm the parents of that school district. No, I think a lawsuit needs to be coming here, potentially even criminal charges against the people who allowed this, because that is insane, right? These people always talk about, protecting our kids in the schools, in the context of guns. Okay, and you're going to allow a violent criminal to be working in the school? It's like, what? Anyways, ICE said in its press release that Roberts, a former Olympic middle distance runner, was in possession of a loaded handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed blade hunting knife. $3,000 in cash, by the way. What is he doing? Is he dealing drugs like the superintendent of the school? Or better yet, is he laundering money, embezzling it from the school district itself? I don't know. But just keep in mind, again, a true hero, ladies and gentlemen, of the Democrat Party, which shouldn't surprise anyone. This is the same behavior of the average Antifa, the average, Act Blue employee. Let's, basically have a massive money laundering operation going on. And let's flee from the police, right? Because we don't believe in laws and we don't believe they should apply to us. Anyways, when he was apprehended, added that he, quote, sped away after officers approached him. So the superintendent of the school system is now in a high-speed chase with police officers. Okay. It seems like it's something out of a comedy show or it's like a parody or something, right? No, this is real. A senior ICE official told Fox News that Roberts soon abandoned his vehicle and was found in a brushy area 200 yards away with the help of an Iowa State Police canine. So he's running through the freaking forest here, okay? But here's where the story gets especially hilarious. Because as usual, these people don't wait to find out anything. I always ask, when they say, ICE deported this person, you always see these headlines, right? This guy's been in America 30 years. He has a family. He has kids. Look how cruel he got deported. This is so sad. And I read through this whole news headline. Every single time I'm like, okay, why did he get deported though? You never even find it. You research the reason. It's like, Oh, like he had a criminal record and he was an illegal. Okay, right? Same situation here. Because immediately progressive groups and lawmakers in Iowa lamented Roberts' arrest, with Democrat State Rep Larry McBurney of Des Moines calling it, quote, an outright disgrace, and accusing ICE of treating our schools as political battlegrounds for federal overreach. Again, kiddos, and they should teach you this in school too, by the way. This is why you don't make preemptive comments before you at least have a basic idea of the situation. You know? This is why this is why, by the way, this is actually the importance of so-called due process that the Democrats keep screaming at us about, right? It's like, before you scream about this person who's getting detained or deported, learn the reason why. It's not that complicated. Anyways, the idea of ICE raiding our schools and removing a highly respected leader, highly respected leader, guys, highly respected leader from our community is a stain on Iowa and America. As I said, this is the Kilmar situation, right? Don't let them backtrack now. They're going to say, no, we just want due process, this or that. We're just against some of the things ICE is doing. No. You guys called him a highly respected leader. That's the highly respected leader. The guy who had a criminal record, who's working with kids, but he's fleeing from the police in a school-owned vehicle, $3,000 in cash, probably because of some type of illicit or illegal activity. This is exactly according to the Democrat Party, who they want the children of this country to be emulating and following as a role model. Okay, you're being facetious, Vince. You're being obtuse. No, he just said highly respected leader, and so he is in the eyes of the Democrat Party. Put that in stone, okay? Put that in historical archives. When my kids ask, Dad, what was the Democrat Party like, back in your day? What was politics like? I'm gonna point to this guy right here. I'm gonna say, this was the hero of Democrats. And people are gonna be like, wait, no, there's no way. No, this is real. This is real, okay? Highly respected leader, ladies and gentlemen. From our community is a stain on Iowa and America. This state rep McBurney wrote on Facebook, it undermines trust, threatens stability, and sends a chilling message to educators and families across the state. Well, needless to say, McBurney later deleted the post. Because again, you shouldn't say things before you have any idea of what you're talking about. The Directors Council, an umbrella group of several nonprofits that serve Des Moines' Black community, said in a statement that Dr. Roberts has been a trusted partner, a dedicated advocate for equity, so he's like woke, right? And an unwavering supporter of families and youth in Polk County, adding that his contributions to the, quote, wider community are immeasurable, and we stand with him during this uncertain moment. Well, I mean, that checks out. The guy obviously is behaving like a typical BLM activist, right? The embezzlement, the illegal immigration status, the fact that you are a public servant who is completely unqualified to be in that position, it all fits the profile. Allison Homan, the founder of the Des Moines Refugee Support, which is crazy that organization even exists in Iowa, but that's how big the migration NGO criminal network is in this country, told the Des Moines Register that she had learned of Roberts' arrest from the families of students who had called their parents asking, nothing's going to happen to Dr. Roberts, right? Well, you better sit down and have a talk with your kid, folks. Dr. Roberts was not a good man, okay? It's the black and brown kids who are worried. Homan said, if it's Ian Roberts, who is a black man from Guyana, who is in trouble, what does that mean for them? Gee, I don't know. Maybe don't be an illegal immigrant in America and then flee from the police with loaded guns in a work vehicle with $3,000 of cash that you probably did not get from a very nice place. Okay? Like, what does it mean for them? I don't know. It means like, don't drug deal, don't commit crimes, don't illegally migrate to countries. It's pretty simple, but this is the left. This is the left, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the reason I said final boss is because this story is like a parody of itself, right? It seems unreal. It's hard to grasp like that this really happened, first of all. But then secondly, the left-wing response is exactly the way conservatives like almost satirically paint these people to be, right? So anyways, Roberts was born on December 18th, 1973. Who is this guy? ICE claims that he is from Guyana and first entered the U.S. in 1999 on an F1 student visa that he apparently did not He overstayed, I guess I should say. In his Des Moines superintendent bio, Roberts, quote, proudly shares that he was born to immigrant parents from Guyana and spent most of his formative years in Brooklyn, New York. According to the same bio, he graduated with a BS degree from Coppin State University, earned a master's from St. John's in Georgetown, and received his doctorate in urban educational leadership from Trident University. Now, that said, I think given the nature of which he has frauded people, I would like to genuinely know, as a serious question, if any of this is true. You know, is it one of those stories of someone who walked in with a completely fake resume and just no one ever bothered to check? I'm just asking. But anyways, while at St. John's, Roberts specialized in track and stuff. Apparently, yeah, he was an Olympian back in 2000. Guys, he started as the superintendent in July of 2023. Prior to that, he served for 3 years as superintendent in Mill Creek Township, Pennsylvania School District. I mean, typical story from Joe Biden's America. But again, how? 2 different school districts. No one bothered to verify anything about him, right? He had no work authorization, and he had a criminal record. So let that be very clear to people. When we talk about, you know, the very loose and not so stringent standards that companies practice intentionally very often when it comes to immigration status, let this tell you everything you need to know. That we need to be a lot stricter on this type of stuff. Anyways, you know, he worked some other administrative roles at, you know, different schools and all this stuff. According to his bio, Roberts has written about, quote, leadership, empathy, and cultural responsiveness, and is passionate about, he's woke, right? Instructional excellence, diversity, equity, inclusion, and innovation in education. He also, quote unquote, enjoys hunting. Hunting for what exactly, right? So, yeah, that's what leadership looks like. Empathy, DEI, innovation. You know, that includes fleeing from the police, you know, and okay. When considering the candidates, the school board here said they were looking for someone with educational experience, academic excellence, and a passion for innovation and inspiration. We found those qualities and more in Dr. Roberts. I don't know. I think they just hired like Eddie Murphy from Coming to America, and he just told him some like incredible story about equity or something. That's incredible. That's incredible. Anyways, so you basically get the idea here. By the way, it's worth noting this man was making $305,000 in salary and benefits in the 24 to 25 school year. $300K a year. Total fraudster. All right. Now, of course, I'm sure, by the way, the argument, once again, as it always is with deportations, when you don't really have anything else to say, are we going to resort now to saying, we can't find Americans to work these jobs? You know, Americans won't work as school superintendents. You know, that's why we had to hire an illegal guy. Okay, sure, right? Because it always goes back to this. And, you know, people don't even bother to question, hey, are there Americans who work these jobs, you know? Oh, it turns out that it's not all just people like picking crops. The illegal aliens are working all over the place, right? But hey, you know, hopefully some genuinely good American citizen educator now has an opportunity. Thank you very much to the deportation of this illegal alien criminal. So there you go. Apparently, the reason, though, he was arrested by ICE was because he had long been living and working in the U.S. without authorization. Okay. So according to ICE, guys, check this out. Roberts had overstayed his 1999 student visa. He's been here since 1999, never even bothered. He never renewed it, wasn't eligible, and received a final order of removal from an immigration judge, even shockingly here, under the Biden administration on May 22nd, 2024. Even the Biden admin agreed this guy is very flagrantly violating laws, has no reason to be here. Keep in mind as well, 2024, judge orders his deportation. It doesn't happen. But still, the next school year, this coming school year, actually, no, that would be May 24, and then, no, 2 school years now. For 2 consecutive school years, he still is working in Des Moines, Iowa, as federal authorities, like a year ago, already said, you need to be deported. Okay. Anyways, a year later, an immigration judge in Dallas, Texas, denied a motion to reopen his case. So, in other words, got rejected again. And this all came up because earlier on February 5th, 2020, this is back when he was working in Pennsylvania and then he came to work in Des Moines, Roberts was arrested and charged with illegally possessing a weapon because guess what? He's an illegal alien. And he's been working. He's been working here this entire time. According to ICE, yes, and indeed that's actually true, it is a violation of federal law for those in the U.S. without legal status to possess firearm and ammunition. Yes, true. So anyways, that said, according to ICE detainees locator website, Roberts is currently being held at the county jail in western Iowa. And indeed, the page lists his country of birth as Guyana, which is an obscure country in South America, if I'm not mistaken. They also want to look into how Roberts acquired the handgun. So yeah, truly an incredible story from start to finish. That said, understanding everything we did, and by the way, if you had any skepticism of this guy's nature or behavior, just look at the fact that he fled, okay, with $3,000 in cash, an illegal gun, fleeing from law enforcement in a state-owned vehicle. That said, I want to bring you the proof indeed that this is currently the scene in Des Moines, Iowa, where yes, liberals are protesting on behalf of their violent criminal superintendent. So check it out.
As you can see, hundreds of people started gathering outside downtown right here at 4 p.m. today for Dr. Ian Roberts, the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, who was detained by ICE this morning. This protest has been going on for about an hour now, and while at times it's gotten very intense, it has remained peaceful. I can only show a select amount of signs, ones that don't have profanity on them, but many of them saying that they want Dr. Roberts freed and against ICE.
Yeah, so you thought I was probably joking or exaggerating. No, they're making this guy their hero. This is the face of the Democrat Party. This is their martyr. This is a big reflection of everything they stand for. And they're saying it to you, right? They want everyone in America, the best of us, include people like Ian Andre Roberts, according to the Democrat Party. Not only do they think these people should be allowed to stay in the United States and not be put in jail, right? So basically, criminals should be allowed to run free on the streets. They should be educating your children. But keep in mind, a mom who goes to a school board meeting because she's upset over the fact that radical gender ideology is being taught to her 5-year-old, those are the domestic terrorists. But these people, and the domestic terrorists are the people who don't want people like Dr. Ian Roberts working in your schools. So plaster this everywhere for the midterms. I mean, truly, you know, but both the story and the fact that, again, Democrats actually made the martyr out of this guy. And this is, of course, while they scream for due process. Due process, but let's actually not even care what they did or why they're getting deported. No, protest against the deportation, protest against anything, because there shouldn't be law in general, right? So anyways, there you have it though. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.